Hey everybody, it's the most wonderful time of the year. This is absolutely my favorite month, so why not start it off with one of the things I love doing the best, which is oracle cards. And the first card out of the deck is a leg up. The second card is be flexible. I'm going to do a 9-card spread here. So what you're going to see at the top row are the current energies for the month. And then we'll pull some cards for the subsequent weeks. So let's see what else we got here coming up for the month of October. Oops, lots of cards there. Let's put those back. See what they want to give us here. That one flying out of the deck. Fork in the road. Woo-hoo! A leg up, flexible, and fork in the road. Well, they did say, astrology-wise, October is going to be pretty energetically crazy and chaotic. I'll probably dive a little bit deeper into those aspects in a later video, but from everything that I'm hearing and been listening to, October is going to be a pretty crazy month for all of us. Some of us might be feeling that energy now, not understanding really what's happening. I know I typically feel that I feel energy is probably good days, couple of days or weeks in advance. And the final card that came out was deep knowing. So the 4 cards are leg up, flexible, fork in the road, and deep knowing. So let's dive a little bit deeper here, and I'll pull from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck to see what's happening. So when the first card that actually fell out of the deck was the 3 of Swords under a leg up. So some of you guys might be experiencing some emotional tension, emotional strife. And let me just say that we are in the season with this last moon being in Pisces. Really relates to, Pisces is a sign that's aligned with our intuition, our inner being, our inner authority, our inner guidance, our inner source, our inner truth. And, you know, the last 18 or so months, I mean, let's just face it, 2020 has really presented us with some pretty unique experiences in which we needed to do a self-evaluation around what is the priority for us in life and where is it we are spending our time, energy, and effort, and what are those things that really are at the forefront of our life versus what's not. So, you know, case in point, like the world shut down. We're in the global pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs and are still losing jobs, still don't have their job back, and they are struggling with how to get back on track with this new level of uncertainty in the world, and we're still not out of the clear of it yet. Here we are a year later still dealing with the global pandemic, different variants of the pandemic, different levels of uncertainty, and that could cause a lot of, I know from people in my life and even some experiences I've had myself, it really spoke to, I needed to remove those people that no longer were serving me in my life, meaning that weren't adding me any value, didn't really light me up in any way, were just kind of there, not in a good or bad way, but just, I'm an energy type of person. So I tend to attract a lot of people that may seem to think like we're best friends, and really it's a one-way street because I tend to give a lot and I don't really get a lot out of the situation. So I've had to refine those relationships and really focus on those relationships that matter to me, that I want to spend my time, energy, and effort on. And it means sometimes releasing the old and creating space for the new types of relationships that have to come in. The second card that came out is the 4 of Swords. So we had the 3 of Swords and the 4 of Swords, which shows there's a little bit of growth and evolution. But the 4 of Swords could really be about, swords are about air. They're about you know, what is it, our mental space? What is it we think about, our logic? So again, it informs me of the breaking down of old ideologies, structures, thought patterns, things that used to govern us. Will most likely we'll see a shift. That some of this is coming to an end. It means, you know, we have totally transformed the way we live, work, in the last year, and that continues in most of the world. So it is hard for me to believe that some of the institutional structures that we have in place will be able to sustain the way that they've always have been. It could be as small as, you know, a lot of organizations and corporations trying to get people back into the workplace, and whether they were successful with that or not. What would be the reason for that? Clearly, people have been able to demonstrate that they're able to work remotely, if that's the case. So what's the need of going back into the office? To just the way, you know, the government might be dealing with certain things, might not be as sustaining anymore, as people, I believe, are having more of a say around what it is they want. Their voice is becoming a little bit more heard. The next card that popped out in the deck is the Seven of Wands. And again, Wands is related to a fire element, and Wands actually speaks of new initiations, beginnings, creations coming forth. Seven of Wands, if you can see it on the card here, the man is holding up a sword and it looks like he's in battle. He's looking to win the battle. So when you think of Wands, what is it in your life that you're trying to win the battle on, or you're just sick of the struggle on? And it means you need to kind of take a time out and see what, again, if the battle's worth it, it's clearly worth it, but make sure you're fighting for what you want, not what someone else wants for you. And that's coming to me because I believe that's a system a lot of us have been held to for a very long time, meaning we were born into a family that passed down different traditions, beliefs, and with that came essentially a checklist of, you know, how you do well in this family is we go to school, we get a job, you know, people inform us on how we are accomplishing or our measure of success in life. And oftentimes, for a lot of us, it was just a checklist of, okay, this is what we have to do. But if you realize, you know, a lot of people that follow checklists, or even millionaires, they're not really happy because they're chasing the external thing that they think is going to make them happy. And it's not anything that is external that can make you happy, because happiness is something that comes from within. And so you need to look at what are those battles that you're fighting externally that might not be fulfilling you internally, that you now need to focus on and address. So get rid of all the waste and basically focus on yourself and what works for you and fills you up and makes you happy as you move forward in life. Some of you here are going to come into partnerships and collaboration with people to bring forth your ideas, to grow and expand in different ways. You know, I remember before the pandemic hit, a lot of people were very nervous about how do we work? How do we do things anymore if we're not all together in a building? Even though technology has been around for decades and gave us the ability to work remotely, there's still the concern of, you know, people weren't really working or connecting if they weren't able to sit in a building together. But for me, that just means the internet just gave us a greater and larger space to do that, because now you can reach people at a true global level. You can reach people through the computer. Collaboration expands in many and all ways. So some of you might be looking to collaborate with people, or come and hear from someone who might want to offer you an opportunity to collaborate and make a new way in this world. The next card that fell out of the deck was the Page of Cups, and pages are messengers, and cups is aligned with water, emotions, emotional states, emotional beings, just dealing with emotions and intuition in general. Pages are grounded in earth. So this is, to me, could represent either a person or for yourself, identify how you emotionally ground when things seem uncertain or chaotic. If you have not begun that journey, when we went into a global shutdown in 2020, and the way I say this is, if you haven't dealt with your internal turmoil or your internal shit, then it's time to sit down and deal with this stuff. Emotional stuff does live in the body as a form of trauma in our cells and will physically manifest on the body if we don't address it. So either someone's going to inform you that some work needs to be done here, or you might already know this yourself, and it's saying to sit down and do the work, as there's no better time than the present. And again, based on the new moon that we're in right now, it is really speaking to inner reflection, inner growth, emotional intelligence. How are we clearing emotional space so we can get rid of the old in the old world in which we used to live in and embrace it in the new? The next card that fell out of the deck was the Eight of Cups. And that's a beautiful card because 8 is the card of transformation. And it means you're overcoming, some of you will be overcoming some great emotional tension or turmoil that you might have felt inside. And you're finally learning those lessons so you can move forward in life. They will no longer burden you. You've now adjusted the lens and you can see things in a new way. And by seeing things in a new way, which means you experience things in a new way. And that's a beautiful thing, because to me, there is nothing really good or bad. It just is. The way it's interpreted is how we explain it to ourselves as good or bad. But really, everything is just a lesson. We're here to learn. And it's the way we go about learning that lesson is how we interpret it as good or bad. So the Eight of Cups is showing that some of you are actually have done a great job of understanding what really matters to you at the heart level, at the emotional space level. You've decluttered a lot, and you don't need to hold a lot of the stuff, the emotional stuff that you thought you had to hold based on what someone else has told you, or even your own belief of what you thought. Ooh, that wants to come out. And you're transforming and clear the space, transforming. You've learned lessons so you can move on. And that's great, because the next card that came out was the Two of Pentacles. And Pentacles is about, it's earth. It's being grounded in earth. And Two of Pentacles is a new beginning of bringing, Pentacles represent coins, material being, what you want to, if you want to create a new business, go for it. If you want to get a house, go for it. How you want to bring beauty and material possessions and things into this life starts with the Two of Pentacles. And some of you will be experiencing that here. If you are sitting on the fence about it, just go. Just go. There's never going to be a good or perfect time to do anything in life, in my opinion. Sometimes we can get lost in the fear or of the unknown, or just our own personal fears of what others might think that stop us. I know I do that. I've done that for myself in the past. And what I just learned is when I sit there and look at my journal entries and look at all of the work that I have done on myself as it relates to emotional processing, is that there was never really a good time to start. The thing is, you just had to start. And you kind of learn about it along the way. You learn the lessons along the way. You learn how to adapt. You learn how to experience. You learn how to navigate. You learn how to manage. You learn how to prioritize. You learn what it is that you're meant to learn out of that experience. But you have to just really just take the first step and start. So if there's any of you who are looking to, start a new relationship, start looking in business, start maybe, one thing I've noticed is this global pandemic has ignited some great things, like the Great Resignation, where people are realizing I don't need to work for a company anymore. I can work for myself and have more control over my time and energy and effort, and maybe be less stressed, because if this is the one life we're meant to lead, then why be stressful? This is so funny. They're so Spirit's so funny. The next card that came out is the Three of Pentacles, and this talks about it beginning to start to build something, to build and bring in broader community. Again, it's under the Two of Cups, which is under the Deep Knowing card. So it's again, this is speaking to the energy of me of this is going to sound funny, but I feel like a lot of people have been under a sense of emotional strain or emotional constipation in which they don't know how to process or even express what it is they want and how to go about it. And I think one of the best things that 2020 gave us is that with the global pandemic, it gave us a time out, a big one, to kind of sit with ourselves and really contemplate if this was the way life was going to be, what really matters to me. And it eliminated a lot of distractions that I think a lot of us got caught up in and reduced the busyness that we like to assign to ourselves to make it seem like that we're being productive or we're accomplishing things. The busyness of checking things off a list, the busyness of running around and doing things for our families and other people, and really not focusing on ourselves. And when we went into this global pandemic and the world kind of shut down, and eliminated a lot of those distractions because there was no place for us to go. We had to sit with ourselves. We had to regroup within ourselves. Just as, Mother Earth was, kind of regrouping her energy so she could prep us for what's next. We needed to regroup our own inner energy, our own inner being, and reprioritize and re-examine what does this mean, what really matters, and take forth what's next. So the Three of Pentacles speaks to taking forth what's next for you into the broader community. And I feel there's going to be some big changes, mainly by the people. I feel there's going to be a lot of institutional dismantling or upheaval or strife over people are just not going to accept the way things used to be anymore. They are really going to want to use their voice and become very vocal about the change that they want to see coming forward in many areas. And I think we already see that in a lot of places and spaces. And so I really feel what I'm getting here is the people are going to have more of a voice and to use it in the community to build. We're going back to the, forget what's in it for me type of space and just get everything for me and my own thing, and really tap into how are we integrating into the community? What is our new community? How are we building this new community as we navigate this life? And this is interesting because there is a card in here that's flipped. And I think I missed it, but they're telling me to stop and look for it. So, and here it is. So So the next card that fell out of the deck was the Knight of, this is the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is a fire element, and the Knight is also a fire element. So this is a very, to me, it could be a person. Knights and pages, the court cards often represent people, but if anyone's experiencing specifically explosive energy or interaction with people, I want to say stand down because it's not going to be worth your time, energy, and effort to engage in them. But I have a feeling a lot of us are going to experience some very fiery, passionate exchanges where people are going to be extremely expressive and almost out of control, and expressing their thoughts or in their communication. And I think it's within, I'm going to say, your best interest is to just let them go. Some people, if they don't know how to manage or control their emotions, it's hard for them to contain it. And sometimes the best way for them to push through it is to just push it out. And it's never pretty. Usually it's pretty awkward and explosive. And oftentimes has nothing to do with you. So there's no need to pay attention to it. It may feel like it has something to do with you because it's directed towards you, but I don't really feel like it has. I don't really feel like anything's personal. We only make it personal if we choose to make it personal. But if you find yourself in that situation, just remember it doesn't have anything to do with you. This person needs to process some stuff at an emotional level that they're having trouble processing. So they're just expressing in a very explosive manner. The next card that fell out of the deck was the Knight of Swords. And swords have to do with our mental, emotional, our mental space, which often informs our emotional space. So some people might be experiencing someone telling them information that will help them change their perspective of how they process information at the emotional level. Logic and heart are two different things. One's in our head space and one is in our heart love space. And the interpretation of how we read those messages or view the experiences are very different. Often the head space deals with the ego. And the ego interferes and you think one thought and then it tells you yes or no, you can do it. It makes you doubt your capabilities. And essentially what we're doing at the mental level is doing a personal assessment when we run into situations or experience in life. What we do when we start going into the thought space is we're actually doing a personal assessment of how well we personally are capable of standing up for ourselves or navigating this situation. When it turns from and that can take us down a rabbit hole, right? Because one thought can turn into another thought, that can turn into 10 thoughts, that can turn into 20 thoughts. And before you know it, you're already in a situation that could be completely catastrophic. But if you really just sat down and slowed down and took a beat, what you'll notice is you didn't go anywhere. You're sitting in the same space, in the same chair, thinking a thought 50 miles ahead, and you really just need to stay in the present moment. But oftentimes, because the mental space enables us to go so broad in view, and if we often do that, that's the ego, again, making us doubt and question our capabilities. It informs or triggers a belief or a situation that we might have experienced in the past, and positive or negatively, it comes up in us emotionally, which feeds into our experience of how well we are positively or negatively navigating the situation. So the Knight of Swords here and the Knight of Wands here is people might be expressively emoting or explosively expressing some things to you that might trigger you. And then what also informs that is, our thoughts also have the ability to force that kind of reaction. So just be mindful that if you're thinking of reacting to someone or reacting to a situation, just be mindful that you're coming from it from the right space. That you're in control, and if you can't, silence is okay too. You don't need to answer anything immediately. You can always take a beat and take a time out, and make sure that when you respond, and if you want to respond in an appropriate manner, you're responding from your heart, which has more to do with how you want to honor yourself in that situation. How do you want to show up? How do you want to express it? And not from the head space of head sometimes can lead to a lot of emotions and expectations and accusations and things that aren't really true, just because it has the ability to get us so much further ahead than where we actually are in the situation. So Spirit asked for 2 more cards here so we can complete this reading for the month. And here's, oh, I love that. The Lovers, Major Arcana card, the Lovers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is, all of us have masculine and feminine energy within us. So this can be either speaking to that energy, or whether you're in a situation that is a lover's situation. To me, this says just focus on love. recognize that what you are seeing in someone else is something that is part of you. So there's no need to take anything personally. There's no need to get upset. There's no need to get angry. And I know at times it's hard to not do that, but ultimately, if we just look at each other and building our communities going forward and this life going forward, is that we are all here sharing the same experience, going through it all in different ways, but we all are not equipped with the same tools and techniques to get through it. So once you recognize that someone is actually experiencing a situation with you, experiencing it from their own tools that they have in their tool belt that might not be as well in serving them as maybe what you have done, just be patient and be kind. Just be patient and be kind. Everyone's just here to learn a lesson, and we're all trying to do it the best way that we can. So everyone doesn't have the same tools. Everyone doesn't have the same experience. But if we just lead with the card of the Lovers, or love, meaning how would you want someone to treat you if you were navigating the experience and didn't have all the tools? Just with kindness. It's easy to get annoyed. It's easy to get aggravated. It's easy to get upset. It's harder to slow down and really just understand the entirety situation and how this person might be coming at it, and just express with love and just recognize we're all here to live an experience and all here to learn lessons. And some of us learn them sooner rather than later, but we're all here to do the same thing. So just lead with love, and things will work out. And then we round out the month with, it's pretty bumpy, I'll say, there's some strife that comes in, but it all ends up well with the 10 of Pentacles, because that indicates to me new initiations, new beings, new rules, new institutions, new ways of thinking, and kind of navigating, being grounded in the way that we navigate through life. And ironically, I'm just going to say there was not one reverse card in this entire reading, which is, reverse cards are not bad either. It just informs us deeper into the lesson that we need to know. But for as bumpy of a ride as October is supposed to be, and all the cards are in the upright position, it means that, show the love that you would normally give to others towards yourself. That is the biggest message we all need to learn here. Any love that you would express outwardly to others, but that you deny yourself, turn that love back on yourself. Take good care of yourself. Make decisions based on how well they work for you and what you want to do and how you want to live and experience life. It doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. They do not have to live your life or live in your experience. So across October here, we do see a little bit of turbulence, but it mainly speaks to, eliminate those old things that, you thought were bringing you ease in life, and just give up the struggle. Life's too short. Just give up the struggle. You might as well just live, right? Just live your life being your own true self and getting closer to more authentic being of you. Open up and prioritize what really matters to you. That will really inform how you navigate, experience, and move through life. You'll look to build, I see lots of new collaborations and new acquaintances coming up here in the emotional space, meaning it's going to open you up to different opportunities and possibilities. Because you know what? Although, people may think like money is what is the world go around, but it isn't. There's so much more to life than money. Money is a piece of the puzzle of what we need in order to live this life. But really, to live a more joyful and fulfilling life really comes down to defining and understanding and identifying what really matters to us, and then navigating life's experiences and situations in a way in which we honor that within us, regardless of what anyone thinks, to be our own true authentic self. Again, it's, you know, jump more into your heart and less into your head, and really just think of, you know, if you're experiencing something and it's, you know, you sit there and say, oh, I've done the work and all this stuff. A key theme here that comes along with love is acceptance and forgiveness. When we hold on to grudges or hold on to past things that don't serve us, even though they cause us a struggle out of obligation, and we don't learn to accept and forgive, if we don't forgive, we're not hurting the other person, we're hurting ourselves. The other person is going on their own journey, and that's what they need to do so they can learn the lessons that they need to learn. But in order for us to right the wrong, right any wrong that we may feel we're experiencing in a situation, is to not only be able to process the experience to see what that actually means to me. And in some cases, it could be truly hurtful. I've been through that on my own. I felt betrayed and such. But at the end of it all, it's like I did the best that I could do in that situation, and even try to rectify situations. And that's all I can do. And then I just have to forgive and accept that maybe we're at this place for a reason. And if it's meant to happen, if a further relationship or experience is meant to happen, it'll happen. If it's not, I have to let it go, because whatever is meant for us will never pass us by. So that's your general reading for the month of October. I hope you liked it. If you did, feel free to like the video and share it and even provide me with some comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Until next time, have an amazing October.